This is Inside the UCC Group Leadership in Action podcast with your hosts Laura Butler and Jay Maymi. This podcast will share groundbreaking initiatives by the university and speak with leading educators, business leaders, and entrepreneurs that are paving the way for growth, transformation, and success.
Hi, I'm Laura Butler, and welcome to Inside the UCC Group Leadership in Action podcast.
And I'm Jay Maymi, and I'm excited to bring to you as a co-host an incredible podcast that's going to share groundbreaking initiatives by the university, speak with leading educators and business leaders and entrepreneurs that are paving the way for growth, transformation, and success. Again, I'm your co-host, Jay Maymi.
And I'm Laura Butler.
Laura, I'm excited to have you as a co-host for not only our inaugural podcast, but moving forward, because you bring so much value to the table with your experience. You're not only a member of UCC Academy, but you're the successful founder and president of Fusion Consulting. But what I find more interesting, above all things, that you're the former Miss World franchise owner, Jamaica. And that, for me, speaks of credibility and incredible business insight that it's going to be fun co-hosting a show with you.
And I'm excited to co-host with you, Jay. I mean, being a business and sales psychologist and an award-winning author and a radio talk show host in Dallas, Texas, I'm so excited about this podcast.
Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and get the podcast started with our very first guest in our inaugural show. One of the highlights of our show is introducing key individuals that are part of UCC Global. And Dr. Martin Yousef is the UCC Global Campus Director and Director International Recruitment and Enrollment. He's our first guest today in our inaugural show. Dr. Yousef, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate it.
It's an honor and a pleasure to have you today. Before we dive into the goodness of what you've got to share with us, Dr. Yousef, can you tell us a little bit about your main role at UCC?
My main role at UCC is that I function as the UCC Global Campus Director, which enables me to provide leadership to all of the operations for our exciting UCC Global Campus that focuses on a variety of programs available to our global students.
Excellent.
Dr. Yousef, it's great to have you on our show. As you know, the mission of UCC Global Campus is to make quality higher education a possibility for qualified students regionally and globally. What strategies do you have in place to achieve this?
Well, that's a great question, Laura. We have several strategies in place. One of the key strategies is the development of 100% online programs that allow students from all across the globe to be able to participate in our coursework, regardless of the time zone and regardless of where they reside. So our goal has been to really break down any geographical barriers. And since there won't be any live lectures for the student to participate in, they'll be able to engage the faculty and partner with other students in a classroom via multiple technology tools. And that really is very exciting because you can be taking a class and your classmates could be from Europe, could be from Africa, or from really across any part of the globe. And that really makes it very exciting.
I totally agree. It's exciting what technology has afforded us today. I know the university has developed relationships with a range of strategic partners across the globe that are helping to get the message to prospective students. I know you have been working very hard, Dr. Yousef, on the partnerships. Can you tell us a little bit about the ones that you have been able to form and how are they of benefit to Jamaica, the region, and the stakeholders?
Absolutely. Because of the quality of education at UCC and because of our reputation, we've been able to form some really meaningful partnerships, both locally, regionally, as well as on a global scale. For example, our most recent partner is the University of Arizona in the United States, where we'll be able to offer our students a myriad of degrees, both undergraduate as well as graduate degrees. And so imagine you live in Jamaica, but you're completing a program at the University of Arizona and your degree is going to be granted by the University of Arizona. That is the opportunity that awaits our students. We're also, to my knowledge, one of the only universities locally that is a member of the Common App. And that's a prestigious organization in the United States that allows students to be able to apply to multiple colleges at the same time. And lastly, we've been able to develop partnerships with a variety of technology partners where they're able to market our programs across all over the globe, in the United States, in Europe, in the Middle East, and beyond. So that's just a sample of some of the partnerships that we've been able to develop to further assist our students.
And that's fantastic. Fantastic work.
One of the areas that I'm very intrigued by, Dr. Yousef, is the fact that UCC Global has had such success in its regional and global outreach and is proving quite effective with regards to the applications that are being received, not only from the US, as you mentioned, but also Middle East, West Africa, India, Pakistan. So I guess my question would be, what is it that these programs are drawing students to? In other words, what are you finding that are the programs that the overseas students are most interested in?
That's a great point, Jay. The key to the success of any institution is having a product that is relevant and of interest. And one of the key driving factors for the success that we've had has been offering programs that are really relevant. We feel that we have our finger on a pulse of what the demand is, and not just locally, I mean on an international scale. And currently, we're seeing substantial interest in a myriad of programs, but certainly business leadership is a very, very popular interest on a global scale. Human resources is also very popular. And also because of the health crisis on a global scale, health-related programs are also very much in demand, such as healthcare administration and health and human services. And one of my favorites is also having to do with the technology area, where programs that have to do with cyber and data security and programming and computer software technology, these are also very popular, and they are very much in demand.
Yeah, that is so interesting what's happening and what UCC is doing. UCC Global Campus has a host of other advantages, including a highly educated international faculty with real local and international qualifications and experiences who are able to teach in the classroom what is practiced in the field. And that is so important, being able to connect with the students. What qualifications does your faculty have, Dr. Yousef?
Laura, there are many advantages to UCC Global, but definitely at the heart of that is our faculty. We have highly educated and highly trained faculty that are really at the top of their respective field. And as such, our students are able to benefit from that direct experience that the faculty brings into the classroom. So imagine instead of learning from a textbook, you're learning from real life cases. You are learning from a faculty member that is an expert in the field that he or she is teaching. That is a huge advantage of UCC Global. And what it does is it enables our students to learn not just from textbooks and from other reading sources, but also to learn directly from the faculty, where they have an opportunity to engage and discuss real life case examples that faculty may have experienced at some point in his or her career. And what that does is that enables the student to be career ready at the time of graduation, and hence puts our students at a huge advantage over perhaps other students.
Yes, and I know your faculty is also diverse as well.
Absolutely. We have faculty members that represent all across the globe. Just recently, I was speaking with a couple of faculty members. One of them was from the United States, and the other one was from Europe. And so we're talking about faculty that represent a variety of backgrounds, but cultural backgrounds as well. And again, that's an advantage to our students because then the student is able to learn directly from a faculty member that has that international experience as well. And again, what that does is it really gives that advantage to our students.
Certainly, and for them, for it to be relatable as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Dr. Yousef, in our last couple of minutes here, I want to address something I think that's on everyone's mind since we are somewhat crawling out of a pandemic. And I've had a chance to speak on many campuses, speak to many directors. And one of the things that I've noticed was, and I've spoken to them, many of them struggled and suffered last year with registrations. But it doesn't seem like the pandemic has had a great impact on the registrations there at UCC because there's been an increase of online registrations at UCC from approximately 5,000 to over 7,000 over the past year, which is extraordinary considering the circumstances. I know the aim of UCC and the UCC Global campus is to double registrations to close to 14,000, which is an incredible number. And you're planning on doing that by the ending of the first quarter in 2022. A big vision takes a big plan. So I'm curious to hear what your overseas outreach program is and how it's progressing towards that goal.
Jay, you're absolutely right. That is extraordinary as far as the growth that we have experienced, even during a pandemic and during the time that many other organizations may have experienced a decline. But Jay, it also speaks to the passion that we have here at UCC Global. We are focused on serving our students. And in this pandemic, it required us to be very quick in making the necessary adjustments to be able to accommodate our students. And I think that gave us a huge advantage in that we do have the resources and we do have our partnerships with our academic affairs staff and with our professors and our faculty. And we were able to very quickly make the necessary adjustments to offer our courses online to all of our students without skipping a beat. And so where other organizations may have experienced a decline or students dropping out because they couldn't accommodate them, UCC forged ahead. And that's one of the reasons that we've been able to grow during this downtime. And that just speaks to our passion and to our ability to be able to accommodate our students and give them the tools that they need to be successful. And we certainly are, Jay, going to continue that growth because we have planned well for the future. And that planning has involved those partnerships that I mentioned to you. And there are other partnerships that are in the works that I'm not at freedom to discuss at this point, but those are all very exciting opportunities that await our students. And if I may use a quick metaphor, the sun is shining at UCC and UCC Global, and we are very excited about the future, Jay.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that you'll surpass that because the leadership, the vision, and what you and your team and staff have in place is so tight and on point that I know that you'll hit that goal and then some, and then we'll have you back in a year from now to celebrate with you the milestone. Is that fair?
I look forward to it, and I'll mark it on my calendar.
All right. Well, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yousef.
Jay and Laura, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Jay, I'm so excited about our next guest, Professor Dennis Gayle. He's the president of the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean, UCC. He has served at 6 major accredited universities in the US, UK, and the Caribbean. His university leadership experience includes working closely with higher education institutions in the United States of America, the United Kingdom, and the United Arab Emirates. Professor Gayle, it's so wonderful to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Professor Gayle, tell us a little bit about you. When were you appointed president of UCC? And can you share a little bit about your journey for our listeners?
Sure, Laura. In 2019, I became the university president while remaining as chair of the UCC Foundation's board. And I actually have been associated with UCC for the better part of 20 years. in various roles, including board of directors, chairman, then a member, and after 2016, as executive chancellor with ceremonial as well as substantive roles until I became president.
Professor Gayle, it's a real honor to have you on the show. A man of your credential is always difficult to lock down. Well, I'm glad that you're joining us on the show today. I'm interested, and I'm sure the listeners are interested as well, in hearing about the milestones at UCC to date.
Sure thing, Jane. Well, UCC has a number of major milestones. The most important that I will mention is institutional accreditation by the University Council of Jamaica. And in fact, we just completed a verification visit on September the 22nd to the 23rd. Other milestones include work towards registration as a university with the University Council of Jamaica as well as JTech, and expansion in a number of areas, including the creation of a business development and consultancy institute and a center of excellence for innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. So we are on the move in a number of areas.
Professor Gayle, with such an impressive profile, did you see this path as a young man growing up? And can you share a little bit about the process of where you are today, what that was like?
Well, Laura, looking back on the path that I've taken, I was blessed with a quite transatlantic education. After graduating from the University of the West Indies in Jamaica, I went on to Oxford University and the London School of Economics in England, and eventually to UCLA, the University of California at Los Angeles. And during those years, I was successively a banker, then a senior member of the Jamaican Diplomatic Service in locations such as London, New York, Paris, Copenhagen, and Geneva, and an international business consultant with a focus upon higher education, strategic planning, and project management. So I worked at a number of universities, as you mentioned in the introduction, in the United States and in the UK and the United Arab Emirates. And when I arrived at UCC in 2016, you might say that I arrived with a clear sense of being a part of all that I had met. And certainly my experiences in many countries have remained with me going forward.
Professor Gayle, one of the things that our first guest, Dr. Yousef, shared with us was the vision of where what his plans are for university expansion in terms of registrations, internationally, continuing to expand the brand of the university on an international platform. But what would you say is next for the UCC Group in the academic and business sphere as well?
Sure. So UCC is expanding the range of its degree programs. It's taken these degree programs through UCC Global International, and you'll have got that from Dr. Yousef. And we are also developing additional degrees. Right now, we have a set of doctoral degrees. That was another milestone that I might have mentioned in collaboration with the University of Sunderland in the UK. And we're planning to add to those degrees. We're also adding a number of professional certificates and diplomas so that students have the opportunity to gain bite-sized credentials that they can add over time. And they don't necessarily have to commit to an entire degree program in order to gain an education, to build an educational profile. So we're all about trying to encourage access. We're about trying to encourage the development of this, an educational profile, which will help everyone interested in creating a successful career journey. And one other initiative that I might mention as we build the university is the expansion of what is called the K-13 program, which is where we have advanced placement linking the sixth form at secondary schools in Jamaica to initial work on an associate degree at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. And this could be either academic, or if there are students who are more interested in technical and vocational training, we have the UCC Academy for that purpose.
And Professor Gayle, I know there is talk about an academic city. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, that is, it's a very interesting concept. When I was in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, I worked for about 6 years in what is called the Dubai International Academic City, literally an oasis in a desert on the edge of Dubai. And the concept of the academic city is one where a number of universities from different countries come together and they collaborate as well as compete in a given area with shared infrastructure. And in that way, they both support each other and we keep each other on our tiptoes. So the idea for UCC, the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean now, is to create the first academic city in the Caribbean in either Caymanas or in Montego Bay, probably Montego Bay at this stage, and to have a complex where there's residential accommodation for students, for staff, for other people, where we have retail facilities, government facilities. It really is an integrated town. And at the center of it would be 4, 5, 6 partner universities, apart from UCC, coming from different countries, and all involved in developing Jamaica and the Caribbean as an education export destination.
Wow, Professor Gayle, that sounds exciting. And certainly with your experience, firsthand experience of how that functions, I'm sure you'll bring great value to the execution of this project.
Well, it's going to be an exciting project for sure, Laura. It's one that will take a little while. We are estimating that it might be 3 years before we actually begin to see the completion of the first phases. But we are building our way towards this. And the first step is to explain our vision and to engage other partner universities in working with us towards that end.
One of the things that always comes along with opportunity is adversity. And to be quite frank with you, Professor Gayle, I know many universities, their challenge over the last 18 months was obviously COVID. The struggles, the adversities that a lot of the universities faced became handicaps. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on, with the challenges that were presented by COVID-19, if you can share with us how the university not only continue to have the success that it's having, but positioning itself for the next adversity that might come, but tackling in a way that doesn't hinder success.
Right. Well, Jay, when COVID-19 hit in March 2020, we were well positioned in the sense that we had a thriving online division, UCC Online, and we realized quickly that we needed to move all of our courses. About 60% of our courses were then, our programs were then in person, in traditional classrooms. And we decided we were going to do this quickly in the space of a week approximately. We got it done. And we got it done so smoothly and effectively so that the students themselves told us in the course of subsequent surveys that they truly appreciated the fact that we're able to help them to continue their education so smoothly without any hiccups. And then the next step was to pay attention to the fact that many students were suffering from financial uncertainties. For example, were they going to be able to retain their jobs? Maybe they weren't going to get that promotion or that raise that they were hoping for. Maybe parents weren't going to be able to help the way that they had wanted to before. So we developed tuition discounts and scholarships for students. And we publicized this, promoted this, and recruited more students after the coronavirus pandemic hit than we had before. So that we started off with around 3,000 students. And we ended up right after the pandemic, by the spring of the next year, with over 5,000 students. And I'm not counting there what we've just called the K-13 students, for a total of about 7,000.
That's amazing. Now, one of the things that I can attribute, having a chance to not only speak with you, Professor Gayle, but also Dr. Yousef, but also Dr. Adams, is, as someone who is very familiar with the academic world, I can share with you that the leadership that I'm hearing, and it's obvious to me that is in place for the future of this university, is stellar. And tackling the challenge of COVID-19 and seeing an increase in registrations and students is just spectacular. So kudos to you and the leadership team there that is really putting together something magnificent for the community and for the students. Laura, would you say that we're on point?
I totally agree. Dr. Adams is a star. I mean, he is just phenomenal. His team, the faculty, just the amazing collaboration of like-minded people and experienced, qualified people that are passionate about what they do. So absolutely, Jay, it will continue to be amazing and really contribute to a powerful legacy.
Professor Gayle, we appreciate you being on the show. You've added yet another layer of wonderful content to our inaugural show. We appreciate you taking the time, and we're going to have you back on the show in the future to keep us updated on developments that are happening at the university. Can we hold you to that?
Certainly, Jay. I will look forward to that.
I appreciate your time.
Sure thing. Goodbye now.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Laura, I have to say something. Having two phenomenal guests like Dr. Yousef and Professor Gayle as our inaugural guests for this podcast, I couldn't think of two better individuals to set the course for the future of this podcast.
Absolutely, Jay. And what's impressive is all the work that UCC and, the team that they're doing. It's just phenomenal work and well thought out, a lot of time and energy and, creative ideas in terms of meeting the needs of the students of today. So that's really amazing. We'd like to thank Dr. Adams and certainly the UCC Group for their leadership in the field of education, business, and nation building. What a powerful legacy.
And Laura, for our listeners to know, we're going to drop this podcast every third week of the month, and they'll be able to find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Castbox. They can also find it right at ucc.edu.jm.
Jay, it's been amazing. Thank you to all our listeners. Please continue to keep safe and focused. Until next time, I'm Laura Butler.
And I'm Jay Maymi, your co-host for the UCC Group Leadership in Action podcast.